JP, I know you wrote about Bruce Allen, and I'm sure Brian did too, about his track record in the past. He's not going to shy away necessarily because somebody has a diluted sample or there's some cloud. Do we know beyond that any trends in Bruce Allen's history in terms of draft day? Maybe he favors a certain position. Maybe he favors a certain type of player more than another. Does he favor offense or defense? Does he? Can you see anything like that that's jumped out through his career in the front office?
Because he's been running drafts for so long. I mean, you look back to Oakland, Tampa, and then what he's been doing with the Skins, and then with the Skins, it's tough to consider what drafts was he a big part of in the Shanahan era. What drafts was he not? I mean, 2014 he was running the show here.
Right.
It's hard to say that there's one trend. The one thing you look at is it's such a cheesy term, but those high motor guys are certainly folks that always pop on the Redskins' radar. And if you look at, people, we all know Casserly and then Mike Mayock last night project Tack McKinley to the Skins, and that fits that all-out effort guy mold. And I think, like you guys, I think they're going defense. I think edge rusher's the priority, and I think that's one guy that makes sense for them because he's got speed off the edge, which they don't really have, and he's an all-out effort guy.
It's also not – they have multiple options there. I mean, you can go Derek Barnett from Tennessee.
I love him.
Super productive in the SEC, but the scouts don't love, right, because his athleticism isn't prototypical, I guess.
You know what? I was talking to Trevor Maddich about him the other night, and what Maddich said is it's not his footwork, it's not his hips, all these like draft lingo you hear. He said he's got the strongest hands he's seen in the last few years in college football. And
this is McKinley?
But no, this is Barnett.
And
guys just offensive can't get into him. His hands are so strong he can knock those guys. He broke Reggie White's sack record at Tennessee.
I mean, that has to count for something.
That says something.
I mean, Scott Campbell said this the other day at Redskin Park. Like, ultimately, the tape matters. Like, you can do all the other stuff and break down the numbers at the combine and all that, but if you have the production in college at a high level in the SEC, it's hard to see how that doesn't have an effect or an impact.
Joined by J.P. Finlay from CSN, Brian McNally, our Redskins beat reporter here on 106.7 The Fan. You can check out his work at thefandc.com. And we can open up to Redskins callers at 800-636-1067. So you mentioned Charlie Casserly. We had him on the show yesterday. And he seemed on board with drafting a quarterback. Not necessarily in the first round.
In the first three,
but maybe getting a quarterback because the thought is, look, you haven't locked up Kirk Cousins. There's a good chance that you're not going to lock him up beyond this year. So you need to start planning for the future. And maybe it's going to be a circus on talk radio and outside, but in the building it shouldn't be. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, intrigued. I thought he made some great points. The point about the circus is a good one. Remember, this is a quarterback room that when Robert was there a couple of years ago, Colt McCoy came out and called Matt Cavanaugh the MVP of the team for holding things together, right, with Kirk and just the awkward dynamic there. I think given the guys you have in that room, the veterans, if Kirk is still here and we know he's playing out the contract and Colt is there, I think you're okay. I think Charlie's right. You're okay in that building. Those are veteran guys. They're not going to sabotage or do all the things that could happen in different places. And so therefore, if you can get, I'm looking at my list here, whoever you like, Nate Peterman, Josh Dobbs, right, in the third round. It depends if there's a run on quarterbacks. I mean, you don't want to be taking C.J. Beathard in the third round. But, I think
Dobbs is...
No,
I watched him in Mobile. Oh, my God, he couldn't complete a pass.
He's the smartest guy on the field, but
he's astrophysicist.
Heck of an athlete.
But I don't want him.
Let me say this, Holmes. I'm sorry, Jason. But if they take somebody in the third or fourth round, that's a hell of a lot different than taking somebody in the first round.
Well, yeah.
See, to me, first-round quarterback is a full-blown circus, and I think it does matter.
They're not going to take a quarterback.
Because I think all the pressure from the media and from the fans does affect the building.
Even if they take him in the second round, that's still
big,
a lot of pressure.
I think any of those big, the first three, Trubisky, Watson, or Kaiser, maybe you can even throw Mahomes in there.
Do you guys think that
there'd be pressure to play the kid?
There would be pressure.
Deep down in your heart, do you think that the Redskins, Allen, Snyder, and Gruden, do you think that those guys think that they will be able to sign Kirk to a long-term deal, or do you think that this is it? He's playing under the tag. We're not going to be able to offer him what he wants, and he'll be gone.
I think those guys truly think they have at least 32 more starts with Kirk.
This year,
okay,
next
so
they look at 27 and 8.
Tag him again.
I think that is 100% in play.
You transition tag him at 28-7? right?
Or
just
they'll
franchise
go
tag him.
non-exclusive. Fine, you get to hit the market. Let's see what's out there, and we'll match.
No, just match it, right. I'm convinced they've decided, you know what, we don't want to overpay him long term, but we're okay to overpay him
Year to year.
year to year, 1 year at a time.
Especially if you look at what they've done this offseason with all the one-year deals between Brown and Pryor. I mean, maybe they're ahead of a trend in the NFL where you look around the league this year, there's a lot of one-year deals. And
A lot of prove-it
and
deals.
maybe teams are going to go that way. The one thing about drafting a quarterback is we're all just forgetting about Nate Sudfeld. So they're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks next season. No. And one dude who loved Sudfeld, and you know this just as well as I do, McLuhan.
Yep.
McLuhan talked about him.
His guy.
He needs a couple years to develop, but that kid can be something.
I
So
have forgotten about Nate Sudfeld. I will acknowledge